of practice with both here. So this is day 2 of elimination. Would you prefer I write in a black pen? Is it easier to see? Yeah. All right. So elimination method, this is a method for solving systems of equations, of course. By adding or subtracting to eliminate, not eliminata, eliminate a variable. We know we can't solve things with 2 different variables. We can only solve things if they have 1 variable. All right. No, Kaden? No, Kira. No, Noah. Lillian made it. No, Delaney. All right. So step 1 is to make sure the equations are lined up. Step 2, we have to add or subtract the equations to eliminate the variable with common coefficients. Remember, those are the numbers in front of the variables. Step 3, of course, we have to solve for the remaining variable. Step 4 is to substitute your answer into either original equation and solve for the other variable. So there it is, broken into steps. All right, these first few are pretty nice. We're going to, we notice we have equal and opposite, so we're just going to add these up. 4 minus 4, that goes away. So 9 plus 7 is 16y. 5 plus 11 is 16. I would just divide by my coefficient, just 16. So y equals 1. Pay very close attention to which you're solving for, because that's what we're going to put it back into one of the original equations. So we have 4x plus 9 times 1 equals 5. So simplified, we just have 4x plus 9 equals 5. And then we're solving that 2-step equation here. So we're going to subtract 9 from both sides. So we have 4x is equal to -4. When I divide both sides by 4, x is equal to -1. Then the last thing we have to be careful with is how we write it. Make sure we're putting our x value and then our y value. Okay. Number 2 looks very similar. We are just adding these up because we already have equal and opposite in our y variable term. So 10 minus 2 is 8x. My y terms get canceled out by each other. 18 plus 6 is 24. I would divide both sides by my coefficient of x, which is 8. So x is equal to 3. Then you can choose either one of these equations and plug in for x. So 10 times 3 minus 3y equals 18. That's the top equation. You could choose either. Simplified, 30 minus 3y equals 18. If I subtract 30 from both sides, I'm left with negative 3y is equal to negative 12. When I divide both sides by negative 3, y is equal to 4. So this is the point 3, 4. When I'm looking at number 3, I notice y's are equal and opposite, so I'm still going to just add. 3x and x make 4x. My y's get canceled out. 10 and 8 is 28. Divide both sides by 4. So x is equal to 7. If I plug that in, I have 7 minus y equals 10. I got to get rid of that 7. So the opposite of y is equal to 3, which means y has to be negative 3. So this is the point 7, negative 3. Do you guys like elimination better than substitution? These parts are definitely easier, I feel like. I don't know. All right, so we have a few more. Guess what we have to do now? These are equal coefficients, but not the opposite. So I'm going to have to distribute a negative through 1. So here I'm going to rewrite the top equation. And I'm distributing a negative through the bottom. So a positive becomes negative, a negative becomes positive, and a positive becomes negative. Now I'm going to do the same thing I have been doing and add them up. X minus x, that goes away. So I have 5y equals 10. Divide both sides by 5. So y is equal to 2. Maybe we use the bottom one. X minus 2 equals 3. So I just have to add 2 to both sides to get x is equal to 5. So this is the point 5, 2. All right. So same thing happens with this one. We have equal, but not opposite. If I need them to be opposite, I'm going to have to distribute a negative through one of them. So I'm going to rewrite the top equation. And then I'm going to distribute a negative through the bottom. This becomes a positive 9y. This becomes a negative 15. Okay. So my x values get canceled out. I'm left with a negative y, right? Negative 10 plus 9 is equal to negative 1. So positive y has to equal positive 1. If I throw that back into the top equation, I have 3x minus 10 times 1 equals 14. Right? When we find y, we put it in for y. So I would simplify to 3y minus 10 equals 14. And then I would solve that two-step equation. So I would add 10 to both sides. 3y is equal to 24. And then I would divide both sides. Wait, what did I do? This should be an x. I was like, I'm not solving for y. These should be x's, sorry. So really, x is equal to 8. I just wrote it as a y. All right, so this is the point 8, 1. All right, last example. Again, we have equal but not opposite. So I have to distribute a negative through here before I can add them up. I'm rewriting the top as is. And oops, and I'm taking the opposite of everything on the bottom. So this becomes 2x minus 2y equals negative 18. So when I add these up, I have 4 plus 2, 6x. My y's go away, and I have negative 12 on the right. Divide by 6, divide by 6. X equals negative 2. So I have 4 times negative 2 plus 2y is equal to 6. Negative 8 plus 2y is equal to 6. Two-step equation. I've got to take the opposite of negative 8 from both sides. So I'm adding 8 to both sides. 2y equals 14. So 1y has to equal 7. So this would be the point negative 2, 7. All right, so your practice today is on the next couple pages. You're going to show your work there. If you want to log into Boom Learning, oops, I meant to click share. We're going to go to boomlearning.com. You're going to be solving with elimination method. Yes, boom cards. For a second, I was like, wait, is this a pixel art? And it's not. All right. So it looks like this. It's pink. Make sure you're looking at the elimination and not the substitution. We'll do a few together if you would like. I'll just make sure it is loaded there. So under your assignments, you'll see this elimination method. Looks like this. So here's the first one. It's written on your screen, on your paper for you as well. These are the same, but these are the same and the opposite. So we can still just add these. We're going to show all of our work so that we have 2x, my y goes away, equals 14, right? Negative 2 plus 16. So when I divide both sides by 2, x is equal to 7. If I put it into the top equation, 7 plus 3y equals negative 2. And then I solve that for y. So I would subtract 7 from both sides. 3y equals negative 9. Is it easier if I just stop sharing for you to see? Divide both sides by 3. So y is equal to negative 3. So I'm putting in 7 for x and negative 3 for y. This is the point 7, negative 3. So if I'm checking that in my Boom deck, I would say 7, negative 3. Yay. All right, so this one is the next one. These are the opposite, so you can just add them. These are the opposite, so these just add them. Let's skip ahead to number 4 for a minute because I noticed these are not the opposite. So we do have to distribute through negative 4. So I'm going to rewrite the top. And then I'm going to distribute a negative through. So negative 7x, negative 4y, and positive 14 here. So this becomes a negative 4x is equal to 8. When I divide both sides by negative 4, x equals -2. If I throw that back into here, make sure you're showing all of your work for getting both values. So you should be showing how you're putting a -2 in for x into one of the equations and then solving for y. So -6 plus 4y equals -6. It looks like y is going to equal 0, right? When I go to get rid of the constant, I have 4y equals 0. 0 divided by anything is, of course, 0. So the answer to this would be -2, 0 when you get to the fourth one. Number 5 looks like we need to distribute a negative through as well. Before we can do that, looking ahead on page 17, hopefully you can see, okay, equal and opposite. I don't have to subtract. These are completely equal, so one of these you've got to distribute a negative through. These are equal and opposite. These are completely equal, so one you have to distribute a negative through. These are equal and opposite. So you got to be able to tell when you're adding or subtracting to eliminate a variable. All right, make sure you're showing your work. Make sure you mark it as done when you're done. I'll finish this video up and throw that assignment into Google Classroom now.